Here we are. Again, good evening and welcome to one of the first webinar of 2023 for the Italian InsurTech Association. I'm thrilled to be the opening speaker today for two main reasons. The first one is that this event has been organized with the Friends of Lloyd's of London, and I actually started my career as an insurance broker thanks to the Lloyd's market that inspired me a lot when it comes to have a perspective and have an approach on our core business, that of our industry core business, that actually is to move and transfer a real risk from the real world to the financial world in terms of different perspective. And the other reason is that we, in the last 3 years since the pandemic, so since we started this amazing journey of the Italian InsurTech Association, we spoke a lot about innovation, resilience, incumbent, startup, and all the different dynamics that are actually facing our industry. And I think that the topic of this webinar today is a perfect example that show us that when it comes to innovation, with technology or without technology, let's think about the innovation in a very pure acception. Doesn't matter if you are an incumbent, if you have a long history or not. It's all a matter of will and approach to the innovation. I'm saying that because, as everybody know, the Lloyd's of London is maybe one of the oldest stakeholder in the insurance world industry, and it's also a very particular stakeholder because it is a market. Recently, it's also an insurance company due to the reason that all of us know. But its core, its DNA is the DNA of a market with a lot of different stakeholders. So the syndicates, the broker, and all these people works in this market since 17th century. And today we're going to discuss a global initiative of the Lloyd's of London. It is the Lloyd's Lab Cohort number 10. Okay, and this initiative, of course, our guest this evening will explain and will share with us the essence of this initiative. It's an initiative that speaks about innovation, hedging innovation in a very ancient ecosystem, in maybe one of the first insurance ecosystem in the world. We will discuss it this evening together with Vittorio Scala, Lloyd's General Representative and Country Manager for Lloyd's of London here in Italy. Everybody know Vittorio also because he represents Lloyd's in our association, was one of the first member of the Italian InsurTech Association, with Rosie Dni, sorry Rosie if I misspell your surname somehow, is Senior Manager at Lloyd's Lab, and David Franco, Lloyd's Europe Head of Strategic Intelligence. And I wish to all of you to enjoy this event, enjoy this initiative, but first of all, to share this initiative with all friends and colleagues that can have an interest inside this Lloyd's Lab Cohort number 10. As an association, we will move and we will share the content of the Lab Cohort to all the startups that are associates to IIA, and of course with all the community that subscribe our content. So 10,000 people of the industry, but please do the same with all friends and colleagues that do you think can have any interest on it. And finally, I also would like to say thank you to the friends of Anra that provide us their patrocinio, that actually I don't know how to translate in English, but I'm sure that all the attendees know what I mean. So I leave the floor now to the Lloyd's team. And again, to everybody, hello and enjoy the webinar.
Thanks, Gerardo. Let me introduce myself, although Gerardo already has done that. I'm Vittorio Scala. I'm the General Representative for Lloyd's, and I've been in this role for 8.5 years. I don't know, Olga, can you start the slideshow?
Yeah,
We'll have a few slides, but I'll start talking. Um, First of all, I just want to take 5 minutes to tell a little bit more about Lloyd's and why we have agreed with the International InsurTech Association, Italian InsurTech Association with Gerardo to do this webinar. As Gerardo said, I've been involved with the association for quite some time, and Gerardo and I spoke quite many times about how can we present, or is there anything that Lloyd's can bring to the association, and every year there were so many things, but we did find it difficult because of so many events and so many things going on to really find something interesting for the association that Lloyd's could present. Well, we finally came to this point at the end of last year because of the new initiative of the Lloyd's Lab. And, obviously I've been informing Gerard about the activity of the Lloyd's Lab, but we thought this is the right time to really introduce the Lloyd's Lab. So very briefly, I'm only going to spend 5 minutes to tell you a little bit about Lloyd's, just to put into context why the Lloyd's Lab and the Lloyd's Lab activities are a little bit different than from a normal accelerator or innovation lab. First of all, why Lloyd's and who is Lloyd's? Who we are. As Gerardo said, we are a market. We're not an insurance company. Even if now, as Lloyd's insurance company, we are a company, but in general, we are the world's leading insurance marketplace. What that means is that we, for 300 some years, have been drawing together the most important actors, stakeholders involved in insurance into a common place, which is the Lloyd's building, to discuss and to share and to try to work solutions together to, what we like to say, help everybody and help everyone involved in the insurance market to build a brighter future. A more sustainable, resilient, and inclusive insurance market for the benefit of everyone. This is really what differs from an insurance market like Lloyd's than an insurance company. We do try to bring everybody together for the benefit of everybody and all our stakeholders. And that's what we've been doing, like I said, for 350 years, or for a long time. And how we've been doing, again, is bringing together industry leaders, policymakers, and everybody can influence and help us. Again, sharing the risk, which is another important point of the Lloyd's market, because we do bring all the stakeholders together so that we can all take a piece of the risk and share it. And again, try to help everybody to create a brighter world for not only for ourselves, but also for our children. Again, 2 minutes just to explain. Most of you know about the Lloyd's market, but I wanted to just highlight what is it, or what size are we talking about. The Lloyd's market right now is made up of 50 managing agents. For those who are not, familiar with the Lloyd's market, you need to think about like 50 different insurance companies. Each independent, each company, each managing agent with its own capital, which, as the slide says on the right, comes from the capital provider. And that at the end of the day, they are competing with each other, but at the same time, they work together under the Lloyd's brand to, again, form the common team to provide specialized insurance to the global marketplace. The managing agents manage 75 syndicates, which again are the underwriters. Most of them are specialized underwriters, and again try to bring to everybody different and innovative solution of insurance and reinsurance. There are also special purpose syndicates and syndicates in the box, which are more innovative, a new way to bring innovation into Lloyd's. How do we distribute our products? We distribute to our brokers in general, but we do reach out to almost the entire world. because we are able to cover either through license or to cross-border insurance and reinsurance, almost a thing to cover the entire world. And we do cater our products and services to global organization as well as individual and even to other insurance groups. So we are, again, a real market that try to serve all the stakeholders involved into the insurance industry. Again, I don't want to go into, because I don't want to take any more time, to Rosie and David, which will explain to you the Lloyd's Lab. But what's important is that, and I'm going to finish with this, is that the Lloyd's Lab is just one innovation initiative that is really driving to bring everything that's happening in the Lloyd's market, which again, is made up of thousands and thousands of people working in the insurance industry, and try to bring this intelligence, what we call it, which is our value of our market, to everyone. And in this case, to any type of insurtech startups that would like to confront their idea, their business idea with, like I said, the largest insurance market in the world. As I said, and this is my last slide, the Lloyd's Lab is just one of the many initiatives that are trying to bring innovation into the Lloyd's market. There's also the emerging risk reports, which again are reports we usually analyze emergent risk and trying to bring all the experts to talk about the emergent risk and what we should do about it. Again, not to provide a solution, not to provide an insurance solution, but to provide awareness about what's going on. The Lloyd's Lab, obviously, Rosie and David will talk about it. The Global Development Center, it is a development center. It is a center that try to provide learning and development for everybody involved in the insurance industry. And then Lloyd's Future Set, again, it is trying to bring all the thought leadership in looking at specific emerging risk or new risks that the whole market is facing. Okay, so I went past my 5 minutes, so I'll quickly hand it over to Rosie that will tell you a little bit more about the Lloyd's Lab. Thanks, everybody.
Brilliant, thank you. And thank you so much for giving up some of your time to be here with us as we go through Lloyd's and the Lloyd's Lab. There is going to be an opportunity for questions at the end, so please feel free to get those questions ready. And me and the team will do our best to answer them. So if we move on. So Lloyd's has this really rich history of innovation, which Vittorio slightly touched on it in his overview. So we, as a marketplace, have existed for over 350 years. And with that really rich history, it's enabled us to really kind of take the first mover advantage on a lot of policies and insurance policies. So here is a really short list of a few insurance policies where Lloyd's actually underwrote the first. So we have motor back in 1904, aviation, satellite, and sort of some more recent inventions are up there: drones, the sharing economy, driverless cars. And so with this really rich history behind it, Lloyd's was really exploring how to continue to foster innovation and product development with the market. So if we move on to the next slide. So Lloyd's Lab was the answer to this. So the lab was set up back in 2018, and as with everything innovation-based, it was an experiment in itself. The Lloyd's Corporation really wanted to create a space for the market to come together and collaborate when they innovate. The market collaborates daily when it underwrites insurance policies. And so it's really in the markets, and when we're talking about the market, we are talking about Lloyd's. It's really in the market's DNA when it sort of comes to anything related to insurance to come together and share the experience or share the risk. So the Lloyd's Lab at its heart is a fast track, fast fail 10-week program where insurtechs or companies can come to the lab. So we have a physical space. I'm actually sitting in the Lloyd's building, but in the Lloyd's Lab, and partner with the insurance market. And those partnerships takes place in the form of a mentor relationship. So throughout the 10-week program, any company going through the program will have access to up to 12 mentors, all from different parts of the insurance chain, representing not only the Lloyd's market, but also their individual companies within that. So this is a really great setup because it means once you've gone through the 10 weeks and you've had a chance to develop something new with the Lloyd's market, you know that you've got a customer base waiting at the end who will, in theory, want to then partner with you in a commercial way to hopefully bring and realize the product that you've created during this 10-week or started to create to the actual marketplace itself. So if we move on to the next slide, I think we have an overview of what the program looks like. As I said, it is a 10-week program. And we have various stages within the 10 weeks. I won't go through all of it because I think where we are different is we don't create a huge amount of structure. A lot of accelerator programs have a very detailed structure. We really understand that anyone who comes through the Lloyd's Lab program is going to have a very different journey. So in one cohort, for example, we had a company which had formed 2 months previously. They had this really amazing idea. They had the access to this great data set, and they wanted to come in and create a new insurance product, partnering with the mentors in their lab program. So they started that. It was a 10-week program, as I mentioned. 8 months later, they are actually launching their first insurance product. And then on the other side of the scale, we actually had Swiss Re join us in one of our cohorts. And in fact, it was the same cohort as this previous example. And Swiss Re are obviously a huge company, but they wanted to come and join the lab program to create a platform for ESG purposes. So again, they really wanted to partner with Lloyd's. They really wanted to utilize the expertise that can be found within our mentors. And so through their 10 weeks, they created something totally different, which was the platform. But everyone's journey starts with, pitch day. So the market attends the pitch day, which we host. And it's really important that the market is there voting the teams into the actual cohort. Because for us in the lab, we really want those market participants from pitch day to then volunteer to mentor you guys or whoever ends up in the program. So ultimately, it is the market who decides who gets a place in the cohorts. And then we then have the 10 weeks at the midpoint, which is 5 weeks, we host a trade show where we invite the market to come in again. So there is a number of touch points with the market. And then demo day is, again, another big event where we open our doors to the market, and it is the team's chance to showcase what they have developed in partnership with the mentors through their 10 weeks. So that's just a really sort of quick overview, but ultimately it's up to you what those 10 weeks look like. We support the location, we support with the mentors, and we support with the insurance knowledge. It's for you guys to come and get really creative with a bunch of very enthusiastic mentors who really want to support you in your journey. So if we move to the next slide, this is just a quick overview of some figures that we've pulled together. I won't go through all of them, but we've got a 95% success rate. And what we mean by that is of companies. So we've got now over 100 alumni. So that's 100 different companies who've gone through the lab program. 95% of those 100 are still up and running and are successful businesses. 71% are still working with the Lloyd's market, which is amazing. That 95% is actually a really kind of great figure, because we work closely with a lot of investors, and quite often with their portfolios, over a 5-year period, they'd expect something in the region of 40% of their companies to still be going. So, like I said, it is a number that we're really proud of. We've had, well, our alumni have raised now over 1.2 billion. So there is real value add for the companies who go through the lab program. It does become easier sometimes to get access to capital, to raise investments, and also do commercial deals with the market, which is ultimately what we want to support you in. So if we move on to the next slide. So I'm just going to talk through some examples of companies who have gone through the lab program and give you an idea of where they are today. So this is Parcel. Parcel were in our first cohort, so that was back in 2018. And it was basically two guys who had this really great idea that they wanted to support the movement of vaccines around the world to ensure that they arrive in their designated sort of destination unspoiled. So they had a background in humanitarian aid, and quite often their experience was in regions which were not in sort of Americas and Europe, but in the developing world or the emerging world. The vaccines would often arrive spoiled because the temperature had, for some reason, gone awry, or moisture had got into the kind of cargo ships or the cargo containers. So they came to the lab with this IoT device, which you can see, the big white device, and they actually didn't think insurance was an option for them. They were unsure about the concept of insurance. It wasn't their world. And they were partnered with some fantastic mentors who really understood the cargo space, really understood the insurance drivers in this space. And through this partnership with the mentors, we're able to then develop an insurance proposition using their IoT device. So this IoT device measures all the kind of atmospheric variables within a cargo container. And it then allowed for vaccines and other medicines to be shipped around the world, knowing at any given time what sort of state they would be in. So, you know, if something untoward had happened, it would be flagged at that moment that the vaccines were going to be spoiled, and it would then enable the producers to then send out more vaccines straight away. And it also then allows for the insurance payout to happen really quickly and rapidly. So they are now a syndicate in Lloyd, which means that they're underwriting business in the Lloyd's market. For an entity like this to only start out back in 2018 to become a syndicate is a huge achievement. And it's an achievement that without the lab would have not been possible. So if we move on to the next slide. So again, this is a new insurance product. We do see service offerings as well come through the lab, and we've got one in our next slide. But Parametrics, they came into the lab again with a great data set and an idea around cloud downtime. So as we all know, a lot of businesses are now operating purely on the cloud. And if the cloud is to drop, it means that they cannot operate anymore. So in the lab, Parametrics basically designed this insurance product, which enables any cloud-based business to have access to business interruption insurance if the cloud does drop. So it's a parametric trigger. The guys at Parametrics themselves are monitoring the clouds all the time. They are aware when the cloud drops, and you as a policyholder will automatically get a text message the moment the cloud drops, making you aware that you are obviously with a kind of time threshold, but you are eligible for a automatic payout. And this is really neat because it's the first of its kind. There are no other insurance policies designed this way. And again, it was through the expertise that they accessed through their mentors in the lab that they were able to build out this insurance product. And so our final example is Define Me. So Define Me was born out of legal tech. As we all know, anyone who deals with anything kind of legal based or the law, there's a lot of documents involved. The same is also true of insurance. So they came into the lab, they have this or had this platform which enabled anyone to really kind of read and access a document very quickly. There are sort of hanging boxes which would give you access different clauses if it's mentioned in any paragraph straight away. It would help you create new documents in a really efficient way, making sure that everyone in the organization are using exactly the same clauses and they aren't, I guess, using old definitions or old wordings. And they decided that they would like to see if this would be relevant for the insurance market. So they partnered, I think, with 8 mentors. A few of those were wording experts. We had some corporation staff from Lloyd's also as part of their mentor panel. And they've now created this amazing platform which enables brokers to really, really precisely create insurance documents in a very, very quick and efficient manner. It also then allows underwriters to review these documents, again, in a really quick and efficient manner. And I think the biggest thing about this platform is it then really minimizes the chance of an E&O, like an errors and omission situation to happen. You know your policy wordings are watertight. You know that everyone in your organization are using or looking out for the right clauses in the right places. And you know then ultimately as a sort of business leader what all your insurance policies are covering. I think, you know, with the business interruption piece we saw around the pandemic, there was a lot of question marks about what was being insured in a lot of the policies. And Define Me is the ultimate tool which will help you navigate around this. And the fact that they started in a totally different industry, but realized that there was an application for insurance was awesome. So again, these guys had no prior knowledge about insurance, and it was their mentors which helped them on that journey. So if we move to the next slide. So this brings us to Cohort 10. We're all here to hear a bit more about Cohort 10 because this is going to be our next cohort. We have 3 themes, so it means that anyone looking to apply can apply under either of these themes. First theme being new products, second, data and models, and third, Europe, cyber and climate solutions. So we'll do a deep dive on what these mean after we go through the key dates. But applications are currently open. So we are scouting at the moment, and scouting closes on the 12th of February. I would like to also add, and I'll drop a link in the chat afterwards, that we are hosting an open house tomorrow, which is virtual. And the purpose of the open house is to answer any questions anyone has around the program, the application itself, anything lab related, essentially. We've got some past mentors who will be talking. We've got some alumni, so it's a real fact-finding mission for those individuals who are keen to find out more. So once we've received all the applications, we typically receive between 200 and 250 applications to any cohort. We then start the process of screening. As I mentioned previously, it is ultimately the market who decide who get a spot in the actual cohort. So we have 3 levels of screening, and the market are involved in the final 2. So on pitch day, we expect to have about 24 teams pitching for 10 spaces. And then the program starts on the 24th of April. and ends on the 5th of July. And so throughout that program, you'll get access to the lab. You'll be able to come into the working spaces that we provide for you. You get access to mentors, and you know, the whole Lloyd's lab team are basically here on hand to support you throughout your program. So new products. I mean, new products is on purpose, like quite a broad category. We are looking for any new insurance products that help solve underinsurance or, importantly, add significant improvements to existing coverages. So these don't need to be totally brand new insurance products. They can definitely be innovations and improvements on existing lines that are underwritten in the market. So we've listed out a few kind of examples of what submissions could look like. I think the big important one to mention is Lloyd's is very much a commercial insurer. So we would typically not see much appetite from the market, if any, around personal lines or kind of pet insurance. It's very much more a commercial based insurance approach. But, you know, we see a lot of bundled products, a lot of parametric products, technology being brought to insurance policies. But this is supposed to be a kind of broad list. So if you can't see your solution fitting in here, don't worry, there is still a very high chance that it is going to be applicable for this if you've got a brand new insurance product or an insurance product. So the next category is data and models. And this is all about driving efficiency in the underwriting process. So as we all know, there are a lot of manual tasks still happening in the insurance industry. And where we can try and automate or speed things up or increase sort of accurate underwriting, then this is kind of what we're looking for. It's all about efficiency in that underwriting, also insurance chain from start to finish. So we've got a few examples here. But again, this isn't a limiting list. It's very much a broad category, but things like predicting future claims, new data sources, payment solutions, you know, documentation processing, but anything which is centered around driving efficiency. David's now going to chat us through our third.
Thanks very much, Rosie, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today, and thank you, Gerardo, and to the Italian InsurTech Association for inviting us today here. I'm David Franco. As Gerardo mentioned, I'm head of strategic intelligence with Lloyd's Europe, where I also lead on innovation. Just before I jump on to explain what this third theme is about, just a couple of words about Lloyd's Europe in itself. So as you all know, Lloyd's, and we've heard it from Vittorio, Lloyd's is a global marketplace headquartered in the UK, in London. And Lloyd's is, 350 years old marketplace, as we said. We've been operating from Europe for decades and years. And we've had offices, like our Milano office for years now. But obviously, the big B word came around. The UK exited the European Union, and Lloyd's decided to establish itself at the heart of the EU in Brussels, where Lloyd's Europe is now headquartered. So Lloyd's Europe is an insurance company, fully capitalized and established in Europe. But it obviously, in terms of how it operates, in terms of where the capacity and the underwriting comes from, it's from our Lloyd's market. So in that respect, we could argue that it's fairly similar to what Vittorio has explained earlier, especially with that slide that covered the full spectrum. But one thing I want to highlight is that obviously with Lloyd's Europe now having a fully owned subsidiary, having a fully owned subsidiary in the heart of Europe, and with all our European offices now becoming branches of Lloyd's Europe, we have a great opportunity here to effectively use this platform to continue to contribute, but now in a more direct, in a more localized way, to developing solutions for our customers. Obviously, insurance solutions, we're in the business of insurance, and for our European customers. And for that reason, when we set up our strategy for Europe, innovation came very high up. We are here to develop solutions. Lloyd's has been an innovative market for decades, for years, for centuries, and we need to continue down that path. So we partnered with Rosie and the Lloyd's Lab, especially with regards to Cohort 10, but I'm sure that beyond that, the relationship will flourish, to effectively have a Europe dedicated theme as part of Cohort 10. And that's what you see here on screen. It's called Europe Cyber and Climate Solutions. I think I don't need to sort of overemphasize or spend a lot of time talking about cyber or climate in this call. I'm sure there's lots of experts in the call. One thing I would say is there is broad consensus that the protection gap for cyber or digital and climate in Europe is large, very large, and it's in fact increasing. Suffice to give you a couple of key data points here, I think, which are very telling. When you compare economic losses to insured losses in Europe, you see that about only 35% of those economic losses are deemed to be insured. When you compare that against the US, for example, it's the way around. So in the US, 65% of economic losses are generally, and I'm talking here about the average of the last few years, is insured. So that's a big difference actually between the two, if you wish, continents, if I can use that term for the US. Similarly, with regards to cyber, now unfortunately in Europe we don't have a single source of cyber data. That's something that perhaps Europe needs to work on, cyber insurance data, that is. In the US, you see that the NAIC, that's the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, does publish on an annual basis quite a lot of data on cyber premiums, that is. Now, just to put it simply, it is deemed that the global cyber protection gap is about 90% of economic losses caused by cyber attacks or cyber breaches. So that's absolutely huge. And if that is deemed to be the global average, you can rest assured that in Europe it is significant and much greater than in the US. So we think that it is absolutely fundamental that we focus on these two areas to begin with, and hence the focus of our Europe theme. I've included here, just like Rosie mentioned earlier, for the other two themes of new products and data and models, I've included here for the Europe Cyber and Climate Solutions some examples of what submissions could look like or include. I must emphasize this is not exhaustive. It is not meant as a either you prove us that this is where you've got an idea, or you won't get in. That's not the case. This is just a set of examples that we've put here to effectively, whet the appetite and get those potentially interested thinking about what areas, either within these 4 bullets or beyond, they think they could potentially contribute towards. So, for example, an insurance product or service to tackle European underinsurance protection gaps in either cyber or climate. This could be applying a product or service tried and tested in another territory and adapting it to our European audience. This is quite important. We've had this question before. Do you need to have a product that is already, does it need to be an entirely new brand product, or could you already have that product tested in another territory, but you would be looking to test it in Europe with obviously adapting the model to the European environment? The answer is yes, you could do that. Second examples there is cyber solutions with embedded tracking and early warning solutions for ransomware risk assessment and mitigation, test intrusion detection systems, etc. This could potentially be a new product, or you're already a cybersecurity firm looking to expand into cyber underwriting, or you want to stick to being a cyber security firm and simply provide your services, maybe as a cyber as a service, to a carrier or indeed a broker. That's also, for example, valid, and you know better where your ambitions lie, but we don't close the door, to any option in that regard. The third example there is solutions for increasing European flood and wind risk. I don't think I need to overplay this one. We do know, especially what happened with floods in 2021 and wind last year as well, especially in Western Central Europe. And finally, new products or services in support of green technology. So this is where, by climate here, we refer to climate in a broad sense, and it also encompasses potentially the energy transition. I've purposely chosen the word solutions there rather than new products or services. I hope that my examples have given you a flavor of the spectrum. It's very ample, but yeah, very excited to start seeing applications. In fact, we've already started seeing quite a few come in. Yeah, it's looking very interesting. I think, Rosie, over to you to talk about the benefits. Yeah.
Brilliant. So thank you so much for that, David. And like I said, we've got some Q&A at the end. So if there are any questions, please do let us know. But we just wanted to give you an overview of some of the potential benefits of the lab programme. And we've spoken about the mentorship piece a lot, but it is the thing which makes this accelerator program stand out. We feedback, or we go out and ask for feedback from all of our cohorts, and they are always really surprised about how amazing the access to the market through the mentors is, and what you can achieve in what is quite a short period of time, being 10 weeks. So, you know, once those mentor relationships are cemented, you then actually do have the possibility to make that into more of a commercial relationship. So that network piece is a really, really important and valuable piece of this program. The Lloyd's Lab brand and the Lloyd's brand for sure opens doors. It also enables, we feel from feedback, access to investment. We often have a lot of VCs coming to our events and people looking for investment opportunities. So through the program, you are sort of able to get easier access to those sorts of things. So also proximity to data, insights and technology, which thrives in our market. Quite often we will see mentors providing access to data under the sort of NDAs and things, but you know, if you do want to get access to data, we may be able to help you with that. And connections with other teams. So once we've got our alumni, or once you're in the lab program, you then become an alumni. We are really active with our alumni. We're constantly connecting them in with stakeholders across the world, supporting any growth ambitions that they have through our global network, hosting events where they can meet each other, and also other stakeholders of Lloyd's. You know, anything we can do to support our alumni's success, we will. And David can speak about the European theme additional benefits.
Sure, thanks, Rosie. So in addition to everything Rosie has mentioned, and it is truly a very rounded program and super attractive, I think what we can offer in addition to that in the European context is we're going to offer additional office space across our Lloyd's Europe branches in the continent, and that includes our Milano office, presided by Vittorio, and that's great news, because I think some feedback we've had in the past is some teams, you know, have asked, you know, do we need to stay the 10 weeks in London? You know, we've got stuff to do in our home country, and or you know, for whatever reason, can we join remotely and maybe travel in and out of London? And the answer is yes, you can. And in addition to the Lloyd's Lab in the London building, you can also now join some of our European offices. So Milano, Paris, sorry, I'm speaking from memory, Brussels and Frankfurt are options, as well as Rotterdam are options for those successful applicants to the Europe theme. Next is access to Europe mentors from the underwriting, broking and risk manager communities. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean mentors located in Europe. It could be mentors located in the UK, indeed in our Lloyd's market, but who focus in developing their portfolios or books or businesses in Europe. But it also means mentors located in Europe, especially from the broking, and we're exploring from the risk manager communities. And this would be one of the very first in the Lloyd's Lab. So this is effectively finding customers, risk managers who would be willing to work with us and mentor one of the successful Europe theme applicants. And the final point is the possibility to join us, Lloyd's Europe, at leading European innovation events. So I'm sure some of you, most of you will occasionally attend some or many of the Europe-wide innovation events. But there is a possibility, if you're successful and go through the Europe theme in Cohort 10, to join us in some of these, potentially even joining our keynote at one of these events. So these are the main additional benefits over and above what the lab has to offer in general.
Thank you. Just a quick piece on the mentors. We have spoken about this at length, but because it's such a crucial part of our program, it is definitely worthy of a slide. But the mentors, in essence, are basically there to support you in your development journey through the lab. So whatever you're looking to develop, the mentors might not be the right people to know, but they will go and find people within their own networks. They will have certain expertise themselves that they can bring, but they will also open doors to other connections within the Lloyd's lab ecosystem, or the Lloyd's ecosystem. So, and quite often some become friends for life. So, it's a really, really kind of awesome relationship. And then I think we've got one on scoring. So quickly before we close off, it is important that you know what we're looking for with applications. So we score each application under 3 categories: team, product, and program. So team, what we're looking for here is that you clearly know your area well. If you've got a sort of a really sort of deep focus on a niche area, we want to see that you've got the right sort of capabilities within your team, and that you guys, or you yourself, have got the resource time-wise to dedicate to this. We quite often see people apply and they've got other jobs. For us, that's a red flag. The lab is an intensive program. We want people who are dedicated to growing and nurturing their product or their service, and we need to see that commitment in the team. Product, this is about, I guess, fit with the Lloyd's market. We need to make sure whatever you're bringing to the lab or your products are in kind of, they make sense within the Lloyd's ecosystem. Pet insurance product example would not sort of get any support in the Lloyd's market, whereas something marine related with big shipping would. So we just need to make sure that there are mentors and there are support for your product and program. This arguably is the most important. We want you to tell us what you are going to do with your 10 weeks. Are you looking for just a business development opportunity and capacity only? If that is the case, we have other routes for you, but the lab program isn't where we would want you to be. We want to just see, I guess, an understanding that you are coming to the Lloyd's lab to develop and further yourself in a product sense, and looking to build out something new. Finally, any questions? We have got a newsletter, so if you would like to sign up, do scan our QR code. All of our events are listed on it, and kind of profiles from the market, our alumni. It's a good read.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Thank you so much, David and Vittorio. 3 questions. We do have time. So the first question is for Vittorio, that I received during the speech, and is, according to your knowledge of the Italian market, which is the angle that the Italian market that has a lot of peculiarity in terms of stakeholder and business model can bring to the Lloyd's lab for the sake of innovation. So it will be more distribution driven, more underwriting driven, more on operation, more on claim, clearing a settlement, etc., etc.
Thanks, Gerardo. I don't think there's like one answer. I think, as you mentioned, the Italian market, insurance Italian market is very peculiar. But at the same time, and the association has probably been discussing this for years and years, the Italian market still needs innovation in terms of product. needs innovation in terms of managing, the policies, and it needs innovation in terms of using data. So I don't think there's really an answer or one target, more like a new product or a new way to manage data. What I think is, though, is very important for any Italian insurtech to test their idea in a market that, again, yes, it's very familiar with the Italian market, but it can really broaden your market to basically the global market. So I think that's where the opportunity. Again, Gerard and I have been talking about how to encourage Italian insurtech because we know how many of them there are. And I think every Italian insurtech should, obviously, most of the time start, with the Italian market. But this is the unique opportunity to really test your idea with somebody involved, like I said, globally. And maybe, it might happen that you don't think that your product is ready for the Italian market, but then, by spending those 10 weeks, like Rosie said, speaking to mentors, speaking to underwriters, speaking to brokers, speaking to investors, you might end up figuring out that, yeah, your product or your idea is the perfect product or idea for another geography.
Thank you so much. Fully agree with you. And so a lot of needs and a lot of opportunity, like always happen. The next question from a startup to Rosie is, during the timeline, you showed a pitch and a screening period, but I think also that part of the reply has been shared at the end of your presentation. Which are the main focus that a startupper should present during the pitch? More product-driven pitch or more technology-driven pitch?
Great question. So when we are scoring, we are looking at team, product, and program. When it comes to actual pitch day, you are presenting in front of underwriters, brokers, claims experts from the market. So what they want to hear is, about your product, what it is that makes you different, where is the innovation? And I would say in a way that you can explain to your 10-year-old daughter or son, right? In an uncomplicated way. We have a habit in insurance about talking in ways where it makes it harder for other people to understand. If you're coming into the insurance market, you've also got to appreciate that language can be a barrier. So in a really sort of easy, engaging way, and also a slide on the program, what it is, like, what are you looking to do with your mentors? There will be people in the room looking to mentor you or mentor teams, and they'll want to know what it is you want partnerships with through your mentor relationships.
Very clear. So less focus on complex IT charts and be more straightforward in the content. And the last question is a very high-level question for David, and is partially related to the Lloyd's Lab program, and is, David, according to your angle on the market and on the future, so the question assumes that you can forecast the future. That is a great responsibility. We are listening a lot of stories nowadays on ChatGPT and in general on machine learning applied to the services, not only the insurance services. Which is your personal overview about the application of this technology in our industry? Wow. I leave you the floor.
We could write a dissertation about that, probably.
Maybe more dissertation and a couple of books.
It's a great question. Look, I think it was, wasn't it Bill Gates that came out recently saying that AI is the true revolution here. So for me, I think AI, machine learning, has a lot to offer to our industry. You mentioned earlier, Gerardo, I heard you say that this is probably the oldest industry. I think you were specifically referring also to Lloyd's market as being the oldest exchange of insurance. But insurance does need to embrace technology. Insurance does need to open the doors in the way that it is already doing in some ways, but actually expand that. I think AI inevitably is the new frontier. I think it's pretty obvious. I don't need to delve into that a lot, and it has a lot of applications, and we see that, and we've seen that in a number of our previous cohort teams that do use AI and machine learning for what it is that they are doing. AI has applications also even in the social behavioral sciences. And, you know, if we focus on cyber, for example, and ransomware, so there has been a lot of debate about ransomware. The fact that obviously it peaked. I think it has plateaued a little bit in that respect as a threat, but there's always the question of how do you actually assess the likelihood of what is effectively a man-made risk. It is entirely man-made cyber. And I think the answer is, well, precisely because there's people behind it. And, you know, attacking groups have particular incentives, economic incentives, to go after one thing or another, to behave in one way or another. Could AI in the future actually predict how certain groups may behave before they act? And could that be used to anticipate and therefore to better assess and quantify a risk and eventually protect your business? Question mark. I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not an AI and machine learning expert myself, but I think these are the right questions to be asked. But I think that undoubtedly it does have a huge application in our industry.
Yeah, I think too. Actually, I spent a little bit of time trying to understand a little bit better this last brand new technology, and yeah, I have to clear my mind too. And also, when it comes to cyber, it's a kind of run to weapons. You know, I mean, it can be useful on both sides, from evil intention and for good intention. Wait and see. What is scaring me is that this tool can also code, so it can allow to people with very basic knowledge of coding to develop maybe dangerous stuff. One last question that I think that is better to address to Rosie is that in the previous course, have you seen already startup implementing smart contracts for for traditional products, actually, like travel insurance, marine insurance. So sorry, because I'm translating from the Italian. So the point is, have you already saw startup that as a core technology use the smart contracts on products?
We have, but not that frequently. We had one in Cohort 8, autonomy, which was looking in supply chains and cargo specifically with smart contracts. And I think it's a technology that we don't see that frequently, and I would be really interested in seeing another one come through for sure, because I think there is definitely space for it in the market. It's just with everything that we see, it builds over time. The more the market sees and has exposure to this type of technology, the more they will likely to adopt this type of technology. So a handful, but I would like to see more.
Thank you so much. Also, because in terms of technology, the smart contracts are very close to an insurance contract. No, I mean, you can code and embedded inside a single digital object all the rules that discipline this kind of object. No, so as you have a contract, an insurance contract that determines who has to do what, you can transfer in this kind of technology. I'm also adding a reply to Ivan, that is the audience that made this question. I try to study a little bit more these the things, and I find pretty difficult to allow the smart contract itself to interact with all the stakeholders that has to interact with the contracts. So accountancy, claims, policyholder, third-party data provider. I mean, it's not so easy to scale up with this kind of technology. Also because, as we know, any kind of insurance has at least one exception that has to be dealt, and always it's not simple to do that with coding. And it's 6 o'clock, at least here in Italy. And thank you so much to Vittorio, David, and Rosie to share with us the Lloyd's Lab Core 10 initiative. And thanks to all of you to spend this hour with us this evening. Again, you will receive the registration in your inbox the next days, and it will be also available on our YouTube channel. And please share it with all your friends, startup or colleagues that you think can be interested in this great opportunity.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
That's
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Goodbye.